Elon Musk, the absolute mad lad, has tweeted, "Take the red pill," followed by a red rose emoji, which on Twitter, it's kind of confusing because the red rose is the Democratic Socialist, but the red pill is like the other thing. I don't know if Elon Musk understands what he's saying when he says take the red pill, but certainly the cultural right is very happy about this. You can see Mike Cernovich saying yes, and a bunch of people laughing. Some people mocking him, saying he's a bit late to the party. But this is all coming down to the time when Elon Musk is preparing to leave California, and boy, will California regret it. Right now, California is talking about shutting down some prisons because they're dealing with a major budget shortfall. Now is not the time to be angering billionaires who run massive companies with 10,000 employees in your cities and frankly, encouraging them to leave. I don't necessarily blame Gavin Newsom for this because it wasn't Newsom who tried to stop Elon Musk. But you know what, man? That one woman, Lorena Gonzalez from San Diego, tweeted F Elon Musk, and he said, message, what do you say? Message duly noted or something, or message received, I think. Now he's going to leave. And now he's tweeting things about taking red pills, which by today's standards could mean a lot of things, but typically it's going to be political. Check this out. While California is looking to shut down prisons, Tesla is scouting Tulsa and Austin, looking for a new factory and may actually relocate. And we're also seeing that Elon Musk is listing a bunch of homes for sale. Now, at first, he said he was going to get rid of his possessions. He may just be planning on leaving California one of the worst possible times. Let's read the story about the prisons. Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing to significantly shrink the footprint of California's prison system, partly because of massive budget cuts prompted by the pandemic, but also because of philosophy. Oh, because of philosophy, I'm sure. Last year, Governor Cuomo of New York said, God forbid if the rich leave. He was worried because they're facing a major deficit. The wealthy pay so much in taxes, you need them. Guess what? They left. Around 40% of the wealthiest New Yorkers have left. And now, this is Cuomo's worst fear. He's still trying to extend the lockdown. And I don't know what to tell you, man, but we can see a real world example of how things fall apart when you try to overtax certain groups or when certain groups just leave. The rich have every opportunity to leave, and it's bad for the state. It's kind of unfortunate. I don't blame Cuomo for the pandemic. He certainly has done things poorly. But I bring this up to look at now what's happening with California, where they actually propose closing prisons. They say the revised budget he sent to state lawmakers this week envisions closing 2 state prisons in the coming years, cutting nearly 1 in 5 of the 43 inmate firefighter camps and eventually closing all 3 state-run juvenile prisons. He's also seeking unspecified increases to sentencing credits that allow inmates to leave prison more quickly, and he proposes to shorten parole to a maximum of 2 years, down from 5 years for felonies, and let ex-felons earn their way off supervision for a year or 18 months for sex offenders. The Democratic governor called it a core value of his administration to eliminate prisons and invest more in education. It follows nearly a decade of prison reform in California, starting under Governor Jerry Brown, when the state began keeping less serious criminals in county jails as one way to cut spending during the Great Recession. I think it's incumbent upon us to do more and better in the rehabilitative space, Newsom said Thursday. Well, let me make this point. Perhaps he is exploiting the tragedy to push forward Democrat ideas, reforming these prisons, letting prisoners out, things like that. That's possible. He says it's a little bit of both. It could also be that he's using Democratic principles as a way to cover up the fact that they're burning through money and chasing away the billionaires, the people who provide these jobs. Okay, that probably already triggered a whole bunch of leftists provide these jobs. Well, look, Elon Musk has a big factory. He makes a lot of money. He makes a lot of money for the state, and he runs a manufacturing plant in the state, one of the last automakers in California. I think the last. The last thing they want to do is lose that because he could just up and move the company. If they're already facing a budget shortfall, whether it's philosophical or not, they're going to take more actions like this, and ultimately that could result in some really messed up stuff. You know, prison reform is a really, really difficult issue. I think one of the biggest problems we have has nothing to do with closing these prisons, and this is why I think Gavin Newsom is lying. If they wanted to get people out of prisons, they could decriminalize many different nonviolent offenses, and that would solve a lot of the problems. They don't. Stands to reason then that the only reason he wants to shut these down is because they don't have any money. When it comes to prison reform, I think we can go a long way in doing a lot of house arrest things, like an ankle bracelet in your house. In my opinion, would be much preferable to being in a prison, especially when we consider how people get hardened by going to prison. They're separated from society. They have a hard time getting a job after the fact, and then they're surrounded by other criminals. Doesn't seem to make sense, does it? Perhaps for many non-violent offenses, we can just tell people you can't leave your house. Not only that, we can tell people they can't leave their house, but they can still go to their jobs. And if we use things like ankle bracelets, then it's a better compromise, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of tracking people, but you know what they do right now in California? If you're a prisoner, they put you on firefighter duty. That's you risk your life. You'll earn some credits. Man, that's messed up. Let's read a little bit more. They say the proposals drew support from reformers, condemnation from crime victims advocates, and resistance from county officials who said they can't take in the serious juvenile offenders who now go to state-run lockups. Newsom previously won approval to move the Division of Juvenile Justice from the state's adult prison agency to Health and Human Services so it could focus on rehabilitating youthful offenders. He switched gears Thursday, proposing instead to bar new admissions from counties starting next year. The state would gradually close its juvenile facilities as the current 800 youthful offenders are released or turn 18 and are eventually sent to adult prisons. But similar proposals have failed in the legislature before, and county officials called the new plan unworkable. Those sent to state facilities have the most serious needs, which if left unaddressed pose the most serious risk to our communities, said Brian Richard, president of Chief Probation Officers of California, whose members already handle about 90% of youthful offenders. We are not financially and structurally prepared to do it. I think the issue is letting people out who are committing violent offenses. The reason why I think this is a bad move right now, and I am typically for prison reform, we've seen a whole bunch of jurisdictions let people out of their jails. And what happens? These people immediately go back to committing crimes. Recidivism is a real issue, and then we have to lock them back up. So why let them out in the first place? There's a conundrum around whether or not we can put someone in jail if they may actually contract COVID or something. But this just to me seems like they're panicking because they're losing money. And you know, insofar as that pertains to Elon Musk, whatever, I don't know. I thought it was funny because Elon Musk had to take the red pill. With that's, you know, spreading mentality. I don't know if Gavin Newsom can, you know, maintain his position. Will he get reelected? I should say. I actually wondered. I did a segment yesterday talking about whether or not California could become a red state. And I think it could. And I think this is the reason. You know, if you want to let out people who maybe got busted with, you know, pot or some harder drug, you're going to get a lot of people saying, hey, that's not cool. Let's people out. But what they do here with these blanket, we'll just shut these prisons down, you're going to get a lot of people who are probably nasty dudes and nasty women back into these communities. You're going to see outrage, particularly from the right, but you're going to push a lot of moderates and some moderate leftists to the right. Newsom's administration said counties have plenty of room with about 3,600 young offenders in juvenile halls, camps and ranches ranches designed to hold 11,200. He proposes annual competitive grants to counties of, I don't care about the nitty gritty stuff. What else is he doing? They say his revised budget reflects what California voters have known for a long time, that continued wasteful spending on failed prisons is bad for safety and our budgets, said Jay Jordan, executive director of Californians for Safety and Justice, which pushes for shorter prison sentence. I agree with that. State Senator John Morlack, an accountant and ranking Republican on 2 corrections oversight committees, welcomed the savings, but said it might be even cheaper to use more private prisons. No, I am not happy with that. Something the state has committed to ending. Prisons are often remote communities' major employer, he cautioned, saying the governor is also imperiling unionized prison employees. That, to me, is disgusting. It's really messed up that we're like, whoa, we can't shut these prisons down. People got to eat. They need jobs. Yeah, we got to get our act together, man. Prisons are disasters. You know, I understand there's an issue with like, how do we deal with violent offenders and things like that? But we got to recognize we need prison reform. It's one of the best things Donald Trump has actually done is criminal justice reform. It was praised by both parties. It was a bipartisan effort. California, I don't know what you're going to do, what you're doing, but I'll tell you what, right now, if the Republicans are concerned that they need revenue for this and need to save money, well, then maybe don't mess with, don't enforce strict, ridiculous lockdown orders, violate people's rights, and then chase people away. One of the reasons I wanted to, talk about these 2 issues with Elon Musk leaving is we're talking about budget deficits, but we can see what happens because of the lockdown in New York. California, don't do what New York did, or you will see more Elon Musks, more wealthy individuals leave your state and take their money with them. And then you won't have the tax revenue you need to pay for any of this. New York's already got it bad. 40%, it was like 420,000 wealthy individuals. That is going to be bad, bad, bad news for Cuomo, who was already begging them to stay. Now they're going to go to the federal government. They're going to demand a bailout. Trump's probably not going to give it to him. Who knows? And it will only degrade from there. But maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe it's about time we stop subsidizing these big cities that are facing these massive deficits. I understand the COVID pandemic was bad for all of them, but maybe they should have been prepared. The same is true for all these businesses who don't deserve bailouts, but are being allowed to make all this money and stay open while small business gets crushed. Elon Musk is likely going to leave, it looks like. He's going to take his factory out of California, maybe go to Tulsa, Austin, other cities. And when these jobs leave, that's going to devastate the economy of the area. Look what happened with New York and Ocasio-Cortez and Amazon. Don't make these same mistakes. These states got to realize you're supposed to be working with people, not flexing your muscles. But I'll leave it there. Stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.